Good afternoon, everyone. It's our pleasure to have with us Dr. Aparna Radhakrishnan. Ma'am is Assistant Professor, Agricultural Extension, Agricultural Information and Sales Center, Kerala Agriculture University. And the topic chosen for deliberation by our esteemed guest is Women Empowerment and Agricultural Extension, Current Status, Prospects, and Challenges. Ma'am, if you could turn on your camera and start presenting your screen, we could start.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you are audible. Yes, and now you are visible. Can you please present your screen?
Yes.
Let's start it.
Is it okay?
Please continue. Yeah, visible.
Okay. So let me start with an introduction.
Can you switch to PPT?
Yes. Let me start with an introduction. Okay.
Sure.
Majority of the people who assembled here are my friends. So my colleagues. So I was just looking at the names. So majority of them are very familiar to me. So it's like a pleasure and it's my happiness. I know many of them and happy seeing everyone in this weekend. And I welcome you all for this presentation. And let me start my PowerPoint. Yeah. So the present, let me introduce myself. There may be people who may not be knowing me. So I am Aparna Radhakrishnan. I was working with Kerala Agriculture University since 2019 March. I work with Krishi Vigyan Kendra Wayanad for 2 years, and presently I am placed at the new center, the brand new center of the Kerala Agriculture University, which is Agriculture Information and Sales Center, which is at Kozhikode. So I wanted the session to be interactive. So my dear friends, my dear professors, my dear colleagues, my dear teachers, I don't know what to call you all. So please feel free to just stop me in between, and we'll have a discussion at any point of time. We'll have an interaction. I can also have a learning experience from you guys, and let's go it in a very interactive manner. And it's a very interesting topic, and it's a topic that is very relevant to all of us today. And I am so sure that each one of us had gone through at least one time the term women empowerment. You might have talked, you might have lectured, you might have made it in your practical life. Women empowerment, agriculture extension, the challenges, prospects, etc. So let me start my presentation with a quote. Which is I find this quote to be very touching and very relevant. That when women thrive, all the society benefits and succeeding generations are given a better start in life. So rather than going into the general trends of presentation, like going into what is empowerment, what is sensitization, let me have a discussion mode of my PowerPoint. So the Food and Agriculture Organization, the organization that we quote often, always say like women, children, elderly, indigenous and disabled people face the highest level of vulnerability. You just see the women, children, elderly, indigenous and the disabled. There comes first women. Women are the most vulnerable, and they are in the category of food insecurity and malnutrition. We all talk about agriculture. Throughout these sessions, you might be talking about agriculture's extension services. We have to do that. We have to do foraging. We have to do. Enhance agriculture extension. We have to make sure that it is we have to enhance partnerships in agriculture extension. We have to modify extension. So many things we are talking. But the thing is that how much we modify, how much we are changing the extension, is it reaching to the targeted group? If the targeted group which is not reached, the target group has men and women. Okay, yes, there may be like another category, which is the transgenders. We also are including them in this many of our recent developmental studies. But when we talk about women, the women are always in the vulnerable category. That is a real concern, which is a real concern for the agricultural extension services. We all know that female farmers may get benefit from many of the services, but they benefit from such services as this may affect their ability to make the informed decision. If the ability to make the informed decision is affected, it will affect the farm productivity, household income, welfare, etc. These are very general statements that needs to be quoted at the beginning. So let me ask a few things. So can anybody type in the chat box what's the percentage of rural women in agriculture? Any guesses? Any guess? Percentage of rural women? Any guess? Any guess? Any guess percentage of rural women in agriculture? 50%. Pardon? Pardon?
1/3.
1/3? Okay, very good guess. Yes. Any other? More than 60? Yeah. Jalia madam told 70. I do not know whether to call everyone madam. Okay. I am calling everyone. Hello?
Madam, this is Dr. Ramesh, madam.
Ramesh. Dr. Ramesh, please tell me.
Madam, 50%, madam.
50%. Okay, nice guess. Manu Chaudhary ji had told 80%. Okay, it is the statistics is telling it's around 85%. More than 85% of the rural women in India are into agriculture. Let's have a quick look into the statistics. Okay. It's very interesting statistics. That is, agriculture sector alone employs around 80% of economically active women in India. Of the total economically active women in India, 80% are into agriculture. And they comprises of 43% of the labor force and 48% of the self-employed farmers. I think most people who may be preparing for this ARS examination for extension might be by-hearting these percentages. Okay, so there exists a gender gap in agriculture that would generate and closing the gender gap would generate significant gains in agriculture and society. It's a very general statement. That is, 85% of the rural women are into agriculture, but there comes a but. Only 13% of them has their own land. So there comes a question of access. The women are having only 30% of their own land. So there has an issue. That's the environmental survey. Another statistics, that is environment economic survey of 2017 and 18 says that the growing rural to urban migration by men, there is a feminization of agriculture sector. As a migration grows, the agriculture sector gets more and more feminized, and increasing number of women as multiple roles as cultivators, entrepreneurs, and laborers. I recently had a study on the migration of the laborers, men and women, and how it is affecting the agriculture of a district in Rajasthan. I will be quoting that study soon. So coming to another statistics, okay. So there are around, that is, if men and women are having same access. If men has that much access, X access to the resources, then the women also having X access, then the total agriculture output of the developing countries could raise by 2.5 to 4%. That is a recent study, not recent study, it's a Food and Agriculture Organization study of 2011. And also another study had the overall the world study had shown that the production gains, if the women is having equal access as men, the production gain would be around more increased by around 12 to 17%. So addressing the gender issues in agriculture projects can increase the sustainability. Okay, sustainability can be increased by 16%. So many percentage we had seen. Okay, what in effect we wanted to say that if the female farmers produce less than male farmers, this is not because they are less efficient. This is because the productivity gap is caused by the difference in the input use, the difference in their access to the resources, the limitations and constraints they face. This is the reason why the female farmers are having less productivity in agriculture sector compared to the male farmers. Am I clear till now? Can I go to the next slide? Is it okay? Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the last mile. Okay, I wanted to bring to your notice the photographs that are seen in the slides. This is a photograph of the rural, the scheduled tribe population of Wayanad. They are called as Adivasis, or they are very like primitive people. So we had conducted a nutritional survey among the women group of the Wayanad tribes. They are very ethnic and they're very introvert people. So it was very difficult. They have a very different language they speak, these tribals. Okay, so when we conduct the study, what we understood is that they are the last mile. The last mile, the word we use in technology, okay, this technology has to reach the last mile, the last person to get benefited. So when it comes to the benefit, okay, when it comes to the access, does the women fall in the category of last mile? That is a real question that we wanted to ask. Study, let the studies quote that. Access to land, not even 2% of the land is owned by women. Access to credit, this is a global study, the global generalized study, that is access to credit. For the countries where the information is available, only 10% of the women produce between 60 to 80% of the food. Access to agriculture inputs, women access to agriculture technological inputs such as improved seeds, fertilizers, pesticides is very limited. Access to education and training services, around 2/3 of the 1 billion illiterate in the world are women and girls. So the available figures show that 5% of the extension services has been addressed to rural women, while not more than 50% of the world's extension agents are women. So these are the general statistics I wanted to bring before everybody. So helping the women get to equal is very important. So get to equal is it's like a real challenge that the today's women farmers are facing. Not only because women needs agriculture, but agriculture sector needs women to take up agriculture. The agriculture sector themselves need women. Okay, so to expand the women access to land and rural finance, it's very important to get to what is called as equal. Land owning farmers are not only ready to cultivate, like there may be people who may be owners, but they may not be ready to cultivate. So in order to link women, we have to link them to the agriculture value chains. The value chains that start from production to market, the value chains start from producer to consumer. The women has to be linked to each and every aspect of agriculture value chain. The women are not confined. When we talk about women empowerment programs, when we talk about the demonstrations for women, what comes to our mind? Kitchen garden. This is a common thing that we hear, okay, women kitchen garden. So it is not the policy to confine women only to kitchen garden and other farming. Women should be into commercial cultivation. We have to improve the women's access to training and information. When training and information, when capacity building program related to women comes, people generally include nutrition garden, kitchen garden, their ends, maximum of mushroom cultivation. No, there needs to be a change. There needs to be a transformation in which the women has to be looked into the key players of commercial cultivation. We have to improve the rural women's access to training and information, and the women should be into agri-business. They should produce knowledge, data, and tools that promote gender equality in agriculture, food sector projects. So, till now, any point to be discussed? Any point to be discussed? Any point to be discussed?
No, madam.
Fine. Women-headed farm families. You all know, like in Kerala, I am from Kerala. So in Kerala, we have matrilineal system in many predominant castes of Kerala. That is the matrilineal system. There is no need to explain much more on that. So there are many farm families, families, rather than telling farm families, there are many families that are headed by women. That is telling the statistics of Kerala. I didn't get the general statistics. 23% of the rural families in Kerala are women headed. That is among the rural family this study was conducted, and the data from 35 nationally represented surveys of 20 countries analyzed show that female headed households are more likely to be poor than male headed households. So it is not possible to generate, but this is a study by Food and Agriculture Organization. I think this has to be analyzed in the Kerala perspective, whether the female-headed household is how it's performing compared to the male-headed household. The inaccessibility of development information and support services is a major reason that the male-headed families are having much access to the development information and support services compared to the women-headed families. The market intelligence, local sale facilities, small machine implements, special schemes for information support. These are the major things that are needed for a women-headed family, farm families to come up and to be in par with the male-headed families. So I do not know whether many of you had done surveys, but I had done surveys mainly during my doctoral thesis, mainly like how the women-headed, I have a sample size in which in Kerala, the situation is very different. The women-headed families are much ahead, and they are having a very good the status of living, etc. Especially the farm families, they are well managed in the state where I belong to. Female-headed households and plot managers are less likely to adopt a wide range of agriculture and rural technologies than male-headed families. Let's take the simple examples of ICT use. The information communication and the IT access. The IT access, when it comes to the male-headed families, the studies are showing that the male-headed families are having more access to the IT applications, the rural funds, credit, capacity building program access, innovation, then inputs, services, rights, etc. So the women-headed farm families has to be looked in such a perspective that they has to be given the policies, the programs should be there so that the women-headed families should be given much importance, and the equality should be there in the time, labor, technology, everything along with male-headed families, and there should be trust programs, projects to bring them in par with the male-headed families. So this is a study I wanted to quote. Okay, this is a study that's a recent study by Anderson and co-workers in the year 2020. Those who are interested in the gender-based research can have a great look into this. Okay, this references the economic benefits of empowering women in agriculture, assumptions and evidence. You can just see it is open access and it is available in internet. Okay, so what they had done is like this study is conducted in Bangladesh. So in Bangladesh, there may be like the different types, the empowerment of women in agriculture. So there are different measures of empowerment, and they had conducted the baseline survey between the male and female, and they found out the differences. And the economic benefits, okay, that is for supportive and non-supportive, is very rightly given here. So let's have a first look into the measure of the empowerment for the first model that is given. This is the first model given. The first model, I just, this looks a little bit cluttered, but if you look into the first 4 boxes, it will see like the measure of empowerment, increasing women's decision-making authority related to agriculture inputs. That will result in, when we increase the women's decision-making authority related to agriculture inputs, we find that there will be an increased household agriculture productivity, and it is supportive for 18 of the this study. This is a review study, and we find that it is around for 18 literatures have supported that when we increase the women's decision making, the household agriculture productivity increased. So when we increase the decision making related to labor, the study around 2 had supported, and 7 have mixed approach of increasing the labor productivity. When it comes to the increasing women's decision-making authority related to management and production, reduced health cost. Okay, so there is no evidence that when we increase the women's decision-making authority related to agriculture, the health cost will be reduced. There is another like increasing decision making related to the agriculture income. We find like there is no evidence on the health cost. When increased decision making authority related to agriculture management and production, there is a larger body of supporting evidence that the increasing land productivity is increased. So that means when the women's decision making authority related to agriculture management and production is increased, there are larger body of supporting evidences, and there is no evidences of different marginal returns by the gender. There is larger body of supporting evidence that shows that the land productivity has also increased. So this is a study that needs to be read. This is a review paper that is available open access. I request those who are interested in finding out the economic benefits of empowering women in agriculture kindly have a look into this. Coming to the farm widows and access to property, we always talk about farmers' suicides, but rarely there are evidences and talks about farm widows. Okay, so suicide is, there is a study, the reports by Sainath had quoted that suicide is not about death, it is about living. So those who had who died is died, okay, but one who is living in this earth has to survive. So that's a very important quote, okay. So once a farmer commits suicide, what happens to the land? Does the widows get access to the land? Okay, so it is very shocking to say that very few of them gets access to the land, since around 3 lakh farmers have committed suicide. So there is a recent survey of 505 women farmers whose husband had committed suicide in the 11 districts of Marathwada and Vidarbha, and found that 40% of the women widowed by the farmers' suicide between 2012 and 2018 are yet to obtain the rights to the farmland they cultivated. So they have, because of this, the land property issues, majority of them are yet to get. That is around only 35% to 40% of them has obtained the right of the farmland and cultivate. And also around 35% of them has not even secured the rights to their family house. And also 33% of them didn't know that they were entitled with a pension, which makes it evident that how the farm widows, how the women have less access to the institutional rights and entitlement. They are not even recognized, and they don't even recognize themselves as farmers, that they have the right on the land they live, they have the right on the family house. Okay, this is a very interesting study that we should know. So this slide I was talking about the gender perspective on migration. So when I was with an NGO, when I was working in Delhi, so I had a study on a district of Rajasthan, which is, and the village, the name is Kohar. Kohar village in Rajasthan. This is in the Aravalli region, and these girls. I myself took this picture of these girls who were studying in the village school of Kohar. Talking about Kohar, the women were not at all educated. They were all Hindus. They belong to the caste of Hindu. They belong to this Rajput caste, and they were Hindus. So what they do is like their water is a major problem. They have around the whole village have around 10 to 12 bore wells, and this borewell access is given only to the elite. The water access is given to the only to the elite and rich families of the Kohar, and the poor families, what they do is like they have a village borewell or a panchayat borewell, which will be giving the water will be pumped when the electricity comes, and it will be we will be having around 1 or 2 hours per day to take water from the borewell, and these people are having a school, and what their income sources, though they do not have much water to cultivate much land. Wheat and mustard is a major cultivation there. So what they do is like they migrate to Punjab and to Gujarat during the harvesting season. The whole family migrates, the women, the children, the parents, the whole family migrate. They engage in my activities like cotton ball picking, and also the other harvest operations of rice and wheat. And they come back. Even though they are enrolled in the school, very few of them attend the school. So they go migrate, they get the family, the children also work, but it is told like there is no child labor, but children also work, and they come back, and their education is broke, like they have a gap in the education, and it continues. They have like less education, they continue, they get married after the age of 18. The vicious cycle continues. The migration, the school gets gap. So the students and these people, the study was very interesting on the livelihood. They don't even know, okay, there exists a life where you get educated, you become a teacher, you become a cleric, or you become someone and you get a good education, good status. So this vicious cycle of getting into migration, getting an income, losing their education, this is very, the gender perspective and the women issues is very high that they face because of the lack of water and getting into migration of this particular Kohar village of Rajasthan. Now coming to a very success story. Okay, this the last story was a bit difficult one, but this one was a success story. The success story is this study was done in the Nelarshal region of Wayanad. So when we say about the villages of Wayanad and the scheduled tribe population, I have shown previously the tribes that exist in Wayanad. So this is a story of a group of women who are the scheduled tribe population, and they were not having any income source at all. They were brought to Wayanad KVK, the Krishi Vigyan Kendra Wayanad. Wayanad is a hilly district of Kerala, and they were taught about what is called as biocontrol agents, how to produce biocontrol agents, how to involve in the production, and this is a value chain map that was done on these production aspects of this biocontrol agent production of the Nellarshal Wayanad Swashraya Sangam, which is called the self-help group. And just in a very simple way, I say they were from zero income, they were earning up to 30 to 40,000 per month, each lady was earning. So the biocontrol revolution was set up in the district of Wayanad. Not even from Wayanad, the neighboring districts also started coming to procure the biocontrol agents produced by this group of tribal women attached to the Wayanad KVK. And this is the results of their value chain map and livelihood analysis is very interesting, and this could be a success story that could be created in almost every the KVKs and also the extension centers. So coming to a few concepts. Conceptualizing and measuring agriculture, women's agriculture productivity. So we all know, like the sign diagram is showing a study that is conducted by Behrman and co-workers in the year 2014, telling the vulnerability, adaptation, well-being, etc., etc. So the women's agriculture productivity. So we had seen the example of the migration issues. We had seen the example of success of a biocontrol production. So these are all challenges that the women face, and there may be successes by overcoming them. And the biocontrol production unit came up by there were hardships from the very beginning, but it was the women themselves had overcome the challenges, and now they become a real success story for the people. So the women's agriculture productivity is a very big challenge, and that needs to be conceptualized. I had shown a study in which the review paper in which how the economics how the reviews are done on the economic empowerment of women. So it is a real challenge of how to conceptualize it. So what usual research studies do is, like, there may be a men-headed household, there may be women-headed household. So they they do the survey on women and men, and then they will have a comparative study, and they will say, like, this is because the women is heading, then it will be. But there may be several other reasons why a men-headed household or a women-headed household is outwitting the other in any region. So comparing a men and women headed household, or comparing in a research perspective, the agriculture productivity of women headed or agriculture productivity of women as a whole is a bit challenging. So we need to separate, rather than disaggregated data, we should always look into some framework or some models into which we can really fit into the women's agriculture productivity to see whether they are really productive and which all aspects of the productivity they lack. So in absolute terms, the additional assumption is that the potential to affect the conclusions concerning the women's productivity level in absolute terms and in relative terms is very difficult. So we need to have this disaggregated data on each and every project. We need to have a conceptual framework to fit into their productivity, and we should have a real model to analyze. Okay, how the women is outwitting men, or how the men is outwitting women, in order to arrive at a real economic analysis of the difference between the men and women's agriculture productivity. And also we should have a real marketing models. When we come to the marketing models, there should be, I started my presentation by saying that the value chains has to be linked, okay, rather than confining women to the kitchen garden, nutritional garden, or the people who are into mushroom cultivation only. We should see the models that has success and like a cluster production, the market access. Okay, so these all core commercial agriculture issues or the agriculture marketing facilities and models should be linked to women also. Like they should have a women component also from now onwards. Then let me have a let me take you into a blog, a recent blog of agriculture. You all might have heard our beloved professor Dr. Rashid sir, who might have taken class. Okay, this is a ASA blog, Agriculture Extension South Asia blog in Adilabad. It's a blog that is constructed for a success story, a good agriculture practice on a multi-purpose floor mills of the tribal hamlets. That is this multi-purpose floor mills has increased the dietary diversity and reduced the food expenses and ensures a better nutrition. So this flour mill is reducing the drudgery, time saving, and also it is enabling the women to bring up with their own income, to get empowered, provide nutritionally balanced diet, and also bring up the concept of micro food processing. You should so thus the women are into into a trace in which they are giving like supplementary foods, nutritional intervention program. In all these things, they are playing a key role. So they are increasing their efficiency. So such models of women empowerment and nutritional diversity, even though it came up in a very difficult area, that is the tribal hamlets of Adilabad. So it is such models, such core models of improving the nutrition, so improving the locally grown crops, improving the production of the desi varieties of jowar, wheat, atta. Such core projects has to be modeled, has to be replicated in order to say that women empowerment and nutritional diversity, like this, such a great example has been given by in this Agriculture Extension South Asia blog. So to reach the potential to women farmers, okay, we are telling like this model has to come, that model has to come, women has to involve in commercial agriculture. But in order to reach their potential, the women farmers needs to be seen and supported. First, you have to see, okay, there exists a group called as women farmers. So they have to be into commercial. When we come with a major project or program, the men and women component has to be equally addressed in the development program. Now we are in a scenario of COVID. Many programs are coming like online media, online trainings, different methods by which we are changing the agricultural extension to adjust to the new normal. But are we seeing it in the perspective of sex disaggregated data? Are we seeing the access of men and women? Like, are we seeing the perspective that men and women has different access to tools, to assets, etc.? So this is a real question that we have to ask ourselves. Rather than coming into waiting for the policy decisions to come, we should see like what ourselves, like the extension professionals, what we could do as research or as extension activity, like how the securing of the women's access to land, monitoring their land rights, access to other resources, how these can make them visible farmers. Now they are all like invisible farmers. Like so as I told, like the COVID-19 emergency is there and we have to reach the women in a very different way, that we have to think on, we have to make policies, and we have to make concerned efforts for reversing the gains. And also another very important aspect that we need to discuss for bringing up women is banks. So women, we should there are finance related studies, the bank related researches in which, like, are women reluctant to avail bank loans if they do not have land or if they do not have assets of their own? Will the women applicants be discouraged by the bank officials? The Kudumbashree is a self-help group that is very prominent self-help groups in Kerala that's supported by the government of Kerala. So will there is like any scheme or bank scheme especially for the women in this COVID era? So these are things, these are all the food for thoughts that we need to think and we need to ask and we need to like comprehend and we need to act on in this time. Okay, so women laborer needs skills and machine. As women need access to assets, they also need women-friendly implements for development. There are many custom hiring units. As I work in Kerala, I can say the Food Security Army of Kerala, Agriculture University, from the Green Army, etc., of many panchayats of Kerala. They have the women laborer skill enhancement, and also there are intensive skill development units. So we need to have women-friendly machines. So the weeders, the winnowers, threshers, paddy transplanters, there are a lot of research efforts that is taken up by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research to reduce the drudgery, provide time and labor, saving tools for women to increase. Not only everybody might have seen, like, where in the part of agriculture production women intervene more. Where does women intervene more? So can I have answers from my dear participants? So which part of the production, like sowing, then harvesting, then seeds, which part of the production of in any agriculture system does women intervention is more according to your knowledge? Please have.
Harvesting.
Harvesting. Sowing.
Madam, post-harvesting,
Reading.
Madam, please remove us, madam.
Reading is the very right answer. I had seen many studies. There is no right answer and wrong answer. Okay, there may be many studies in different regions. It is very regional. What I wanted to say is the women empowerment issues is very regional. So I had seen studies like reading, okay, harvesting, okay, sowing and harvesting,
Plantation, madam. Plantation.
plantations, okay,
post-harvesting, madam.
post-harvest operations, okay, very right. I had seen studies in which post-harvest, seed cleaning and grading, that is also very right. Value addition, okay, value addition, transplanting of rice, it may be in your place, maybe in some place they are telling transplanting of rice, okay. For all the operation except irrigation, seed treatment, okay, harvesting, weeding, cleaning, okay. So there, there are, it varies according to the region to region, place to place. So I wanted to say it's very regional. So so there exists. I might have my dear friends might have gone through this drudgery. Many equipments are there that are women friendly. That are labor saving tools for women, like winnowers, weeders, etc., etc., etc. So I wanted to bring a few slides on Directorate DRR Hyderabad. So they have this community seed bank. I got this slide from one of the presentation of the Director of Directorate of Rice Research Hyderabad, and the sir had put this community seed bank. Okay, many of you might know in the community seed banks, but this is one of the success story that the institute has put forth. That is, they conserve the seeds, their exit to conservation of the seeds. So they like agro biodiversity of their villages is increased by conserving the seeds, storing the seeds in a proper manner, and keeping a record of the seeds they are giving, exchanging the seeds. And a women self-help group is creating a success story there for the seed selection, storage, because women are more into like careful operations. They show their skills like into more careful operations. So another thing that we all are into trainings. We all had taken trainings, attended trainings, collaborated with trainings. Okay, for women trainings, if we are into the women training, what a few steps, this is adapted from a study. So these are the few things that we need to consider for improving and redesigning the training programs for farm women. First is adapt the programs to women's needs and skills. Region specific, okay, we have to do the need assessment. There is a process called as training need assessment. There is an you can type ASI, Agriculture Extension South Asia blog, training need assessment. There are so many methodologies. I had written a blog in which there are so many methodologies by which we can do the training need assessment of women. So the training needs should be, the program should adapt to the women's needs and skills. Allow sufficient time to enable women to acquire the new skills and adjust the schedules to fit to the women's existing workloads. Those who might have taken the trainings might be knowing by around 3 o'clock or 3:30 they'll be telling, Madam, we have to leave. Now it's a time to milk our cows, we have to leave. So we have to make sure, we have to respect that their busy schedule, and we have to leave them. Okay, so we should make sure that the schedule that we fix for the women training should be according to their existing workloads. We should provide the training in agriculture and other productive activities, not just home and family welfare topics. Majority of the trainings I had seen, like it is around nutrition, and it is around there are certain specific topics. I don't want to go to all the topics that the women are into, but the women are maybe interested in some other topics and men are doing, like how to drive a tractor, how to use a tiller. So there may be a number of topics that women may be, but usually the topics are confined to home, family welfare, nutrition of the child, etc., etc. So we should see to that. We should think over that. We should emphasize the activity for which there is actual income generation potential. There should be an actual, it is not a time pass. We should really look into their actual income generation. We should ensure the involvement and full participation of the women from poorer and less educated background. I had shown the results, the survey in which we had done a survey of the tribals, the study of the tribal. So the poor and the less educated background people should be involved. Okay. So what we have to do, we should have a person who is a translator or who is talking in their language and who is a facilitator. And we had done the training for the tribes of Wayanad. What we do is, like, we have a facilitator who will be talking on the tribal language. We will be taking the training, and the facilitator will be helping them to translate. And when they see the facilitator itself, they will have full participation. They feel like, a person of our person is there, and they are talking in our language. So they become involvement and participation increases. And there should be like user trainers who are not only technical competent, but also emphasizes, like, we do not need to pump into more technical things for them. They should have like what they need, what they aspire has to be given to them. We should provide practical field experience in the use of innovations. And we should shift more resources to village-based training rather than residential. Rather than bringing them here, we can have a village-based, village-oriented, or their farm-oriented trainings that will attract them more to the technologies. So I wanted to introduce, there's also like a land banking facility. So women has less access to land. So there are suggestions like hiring of the land more for the women in Krishi Bhavan arrangements, etc., etc. This was done, and this could be made as a model to engage where more women into implementing like renting the land and implementing the land banking facility. So the right side you can see two photographs. The photograph, I and my professor is sitting with me, and there is a lady sitting between us who is paralyzed. Okay, so she doesn't have movement below her legs. So her name is Kumbhama, and she is moving like that, that she drags herself, and she doesn't have any, her legs are totally paralyzed. So we asked her, how is your leg paralyzed? So she told, I was okay till 3 years or 2 years. My father accidentally threw something or beaten mother, and I came in between. I got the beat, and I became paralyzed, and I was not at all moving. Then some Ayurveda treatment and all was done, and I started moving like that. She told her personal story, and this lady is a marvelous. She's like, we can't believe, okay, how good a farmer she is. She has maintained her farm in such a way that we can't believe it's she who does all these farming operations. And she also has a very good collection of germplasm, very the seeds, the way she stores the things. It's very interesting to learn from such a lady. Okay, she was nominated for an award, and we went there for collecting her details, and it was very inspiring to see a lady, to see a woman coming up who is totally having paralyzed limbs and is coming up with being a successful farmer, winning so many awards. Okay, I really salute her. I really was so inspired here seeing the way she does. She has so many tuber crops. She has so many indigenous varieties. She also has so many stories, songs to talk about farming, about traditions, about seeds, etc., etc. So she lives in Mananthavadi region of Wayanad. Her name is Kumbhama. You can just Google Kumbhama, Kumbhama. You can see so many videos, and she's very famous lady in Kerala. So I cannot wind up my presentation without telling an index, the Women Empowerment in Agriculture Index. My topic today is women empowerment. So just for the sake of formality, I'm putting this index before my group. It's a very important index, and it is, you can just Google and see how this indexing is done. Once you know the indexing methodology, we can use the 5 domains. Okay, once you know that how the index has to be, a composite index has to be created. You have to have variables, you have to have indicators, then you have to have weightage, you have to aggregate it, and then you have to have an index. So this is also an aggregate index, and this is a more standard index that is reported at country level or regional level. We have to collect the individual data, and if you are looking into the research on women empowerment, so Women Empowerment in Agriculture Index plays a very important role. So these are the major the empowerment 5 DEs, 5 domains that on which it is the index works around. And also there is also an index called Gender Parity Index that measures the gender parity. There is also need to look into the detailed methodology of Gender Parity Index also. So women inclusive policies, considering all these things, I had told so many constraints, so many issues, so many success stories. So we have to have policies in such a way that women farmer is not an invisible and not an unreached person, and she is a co-farmer. She is an entrepreneur. She has to be in the new policies. She has to be in the schemes. She has to have administrative role, and she has to have even the curriculum, the agriculture curriculum should have gender studies as a very important subject. Then only the new BSc graduates will come to know about gender, come to know about women, come to know about their empowerment, how to do the capacity building program, development, etc. This is the Feed the Future domain. There are 7 key domains that is given by the Feed the Future Gender Integration Framework. You can see there are like this is a very like attractive diagram. There are 7 key domains for achieving the women empowerment in agriculture. The decision making power, like decision to make decision. We always say like decision making power of a woman is very important in all the agriculture process. Whether there exists a man in the family, there exist so many like male human beings. The decision of women should be there. They should have a role in the decision making of the family in all the agricultural processes. They should have the control over the productive resources. They should have the control over the use of income, social capital and leadership, time use or time poverty, human capital, use of technologies, etc. So I say, in the starting of my presentation, I say, if women is having equal access to men, this much percentage of poverty will be reduced, this much percentage of increase in the efficiency of the farmlands will be achieved at the global level. So there is a very interesting study I recently gone through, which stated the strategies and key considerations for enhancing the women's participation in agriculture extension. When we talk about farming, the general farming itself, in order to enter into the general farming, they need to have some capacity building program. So there, the Rashid and Imad in the year 2018, they put forward these many number of strategies that need to be considered for enhancing the women's participation in agriculture extension. Limited number of agriculture extension workers is a major hindrance that is I'll just tell the points only. The limited number of agricultural extension workers is a major hindrance that is faced. We should have para extension workers who are women friendly and who are the local leaders who have the skill to interact with women. This is a strategy and solution they are telling. You have less capacity extension workers. Okay, you should have subsidies for extension workers for the purchase of vehicles, for vehicle loan, etc., etc. The scarcity of female extension workers. For the scarcity of female extension workers, we should have a quota for female extension workers or para extension workers to be recruited by the university. They should have the farmer selection criteria. Example, when you select a farmer for training, a group of farmers, we should include the women, and you should make the training in such a way that the women's interests are also met by the training. There should be like a periodic updation of the course curriculum of the agriculture institution. There should be more focus on the quantity rather than quality. There should be location and schedule of extension program. There should be the rural adult education program. I wanted to stress here is the rural adult education programs and incentives for the adults to participate in the mass education program should be in such a way that it ensures the women's participation also, and we should ensure the participation of women of all age category rather than a particular age who are school dropouts only, who are like unemployed youth. No, you should ensure that all age categories are benefited. They all should be having an interest in the agriculture, etc. So coming to my conclusion. So there is policy, there is market opportunity, there is farmers, there is support services, there is knowledge support services, that these all things revolve around these knowledge support services. But what we have to do is like, we have to change all these factors that revolve around the knowledge support services in such a manner that it favors both men and women in an equal way. Then only we could have an effective knowledge support services to be delivered, and the policies, market opportunity, farmer support services, everything should work in a like amalgamated, like in a synergetic way so as to support the system. So I heard like in last class a few lecturers had asked on like which are all the books we could refer for gender, women and agriculture. These are the few books that I wanted to list before you. The Routledge Handbook of Gender and Agriculture is the best one. And I also suggest Gender in Agriculture, Closing the Knowledge Gap. The Springer book is also very good. And there is also a professor from National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, Dr. K. Punuswamy. Sir had also written a book on gender sensitization for development. That book is usually referred by the students for their ARS and ICR exam preparations and other course work. This is based on the Food and Agriculture Organization documents. So thank you so much for your kind attention. What I wanted to conclude is like where the women are the majority of smallhold farmers, failure to release their full potential to agriculture is a contributing factor to the low growth and food insecurity. So even though we consider so many factors, X, Y, etc., bringing women in forefront rather than confining themselves to the kitchen garden and nutrition garden, we should bring them in forefront. And so this is a smiling face of one of the SHG member in K Wayanad. So she, I think around 5 to 6 years, maybe around 10 years before, she had not even imagined what is called as a biocontrol agent. So they don't even know how to make Trichoderma pseudomonas, Beauveria, etc. So they were brought in forefront into this method of into this self-help group of making this biocontrol agents, and they created a success story. So women could be brought and they could be made equal partner with men, contributing to the food security and also contributing to the growth. I think my time is up. Thank you so much for listening. I am happy to invite questions, and I will also be happy to have feedback if for any. Thank you.
Participants, do you have any questions? Please ask, ma'am.
Madam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
My name is Krishna Priya.
Yes.
Madam, it's a very good presentation.
Thank you so much.
From my side, one question is, nowadays,
Please
all of
ask
us
one by
like
one. Let one person finish first, then ask the other person.
Nowadays, everyone is talking about gender concepts or gender sensitization.
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
think your presentation is more related to gender. So I want to know what is the difference between gender equality and gender equity?
So that's a very theoretical question. Any other questions?
No, ma'am. This is a main thing I want to know.
Okay. Any other?
Hello, madam.
Yes.
Can you hear me, madam?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Madam, this is Ramesh, madam. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear me, madam?
Yes.
Madam, I am Dr. Ramesh.
Okay, sir. Please tell me.
I work in Northeast, madam,
Yes.
for almost 10.5 years.
Yes.
We could take up so many women empowerment activities like this one, validation programs, madam.
Yes.
And also we established this community smoking kill in
Okay.
tribal villages of 15 villages, madam.
Okay.
And we have seen very good empowerment with farm women.
Okay.
And in Northeast, if I am correct, 50% of the workforce is contributed by women.
Okay.
Whereas in Northeast, we see 100% of women, farm women edit from madam.
Okay.
Generally, they involve in agriculture as well as in marketing of the farm produce that has been cultivated in the forest areas.
Okay.
And also they procure the forest produce and sell it in the local market, madam.
Okay.
And especially in Tripura, we have seen there is one Burma Bazaar
Burma Bazaar. I had heard about it.
Yes, there all women they sell their produce there, madam.
Okay.
But what I feel is, especially as you were told, the women are not access to the inputs,
Okay.
but access to the credit in small quantity, like a small amount. They
Okay.
take the credit from the bank through formation of research groups, madam.
Okay.
And they will not take the major loans. They get
Okay.
scared about the bank that repayment policy and all, madam. Just to give one. Anyway, it is a very good information, madam. You have given.
Thank you so much.
Highlighting
So,
about the important challenges and
thank you so much. Thank you. With the permission of the organizers, can I just have a presentation? I just wanted to show a diagram showing the equity and equality. There came a concept, okay. So rather than, so this is the diagram I wanted to show. I just Googled now. I hope my page is visible, madam. Is it okay? Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes. So rather than for me, I am also a learner. Okay, I learn basic things by understanding in my own perspective. So everybody asks this question. Okay, equality, equity, equality. So look at this diagram of this right side. These three boys standing. So this diagram rightly shows what is equality versus equity. So see. So there is some internet issue. See, these three, they are given what is equality? The three people are given same height stools. They wanted to see the cricket match. So they are given the stools of same height to stand and see the cricket match. But the shorter one was not able to see. But in the case of equity, you see, to make everyone of same height, we are given the third one is given 2 stools, the second one is given 1 stool, and the first one is not given stool. So equality and equity, you can think, now you can just Google a definition of equality, equity, and just look into it. Okay, how in gender perspective, imagine we are giving assets to women and men. If we are giving same assets to women and men, that is same stool, then it is equality. When we are giving assets in such a manner that they are equal, then comes what is called as equity. So kindly remember this diagram, and dear madam, kindly go through the definitions that is given by many standard definitions are there. You can just Google and see what is the difference between gender, equality. There are so many terms. So I didn't actually go through enlist the terms. So these terms I had given the reference, the FAO, the book by Dr. K. Ponnuswamy sir, and you can go through this book, and it is given all the definitions, sensitization, even gender and women lectures are entirely different, I feel. Rather than like gender lectures, there should be a difference, okay. Any other? Any other, sir? Any other person has to share any?
Yeah, Dr. Aparna.
Sir.
Prakash. Yeah, I just go through if there are any questions in the chat box, please.
I had, what are the policy issues related to women empowerment?
If you can respond.
So there are so many policy issues related to women empowerment. So I had rightly shown one slide in which I enlisted the policy issues. Dear sir, I always feel as a learner and also as a teacher, I feel like all the policy issues are all region specific. So the policy issues that I feel about the women in Kerala may not be the policy issues that are related to the policy issues of the women in Northeast. Now, just now a professor had told about the Burma concept, the village and Northeast women. So I feel it is very region specific. We should really do some good research. If you wanted to have a policy issue of a group of tribals, you do a very good research, then go into policy implications and compare it with the policies, existing policies, suggest the policy gaps. That should be my suggestion rather than going into general statements.
And I think apart from this, we can also add like even the government has got actually its different policies, because whenever we are talking about agriculture policy, there we have a component related to women as well as gender, in fact. And then even in case of the 5 years previously, we had actually the whole set of different committee set in for looking after the gender-based or actually women empowerment activities. I think that also can be a good resource material if somebody is interested to work on this particular area.
There is a comment coming like nice presentation. Happy to see one of our activity in your presentation. May I know which is the activity that I presented? Sir, please.
Yeah, that is multi-purpose floor mill, madam, from KVK Adilabad.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Nice presentation.
Yeah, are there any questions again from the participants?
I think there are no.
Yeah, please. Who is speaking? Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Are there any questions in the chat? Please ask.
No, I think chat is clear.
That is clear. Then, do you want participants? Anyone wants to ask directly to our resource person?
Yeah, I think that is fine. Yes.
Sir, I don't think my email ID. I also request the participants if they have any communication like research collaboration work. I may not be I'm only a 2-year experienced person in the university system, but I have some research experience. So if some research of interesting nature comes, do contact me, aparna.r@ku.in. This is my email ID. Please write to me. Let's work together collaboratively, comparing the women researchers in different parts of India.
Dr. Prakash, if there are no questions, then we can proceed to the formal vote of thanks. Can you provide the vote of thanks, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Majid ji. Thank you very much, Dr. Aparna, for actually delivering a very nice and actually very like I can say it was very well presented and nicely articulated. In fact, having good success stories and case studies from different areas apart from having a therapeutic approach. And in fact, actually, because it's a very big area and having the talk in 1 hour is very difficult, I can understand. But you have given a full justice to your topic, whatever you have done. And if there are any queries, actually, as she has already mentioned, as she has also shared her mail, or you can write to us so that you can share it with her. So,
Sir, your voice is breaking. Can you come closer to the mic, please?
Yeah, is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah, and that is why actually on behalf of all our organizers as well as on behalf of our participants, I very heartily thank you for actually accepting our invitation and delivering this very wonderful lecture for all our participants. So that is from our side. And that's actually, as I already mentioned in the morning, please join us for classes tomorrow also at 11 o'clock as well as 2:30 in the afternoon, because we are just having 2 days break for the celebration of the Bakrid in between on request of some participants as well as the organizing team. And those 2 classes we are going to adjust this Sunday, as well as next 2 more classes will be adjusted for the next Sunday. So please cooperate and even join for tomorrow's 2 sessions, so that we can have holidays for 2 days on 21 and 22nd of July. Thank you, Dr. Aparna once again, and thank you, Majid ji.
Thank you, everyone. Let's join back tomorrow at 11. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.